نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور انفسنا ومن سيئات اعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له واشهد ان لا اله الا الله وحده لا شريك له واشهد ان محمدا عبده ورسوله يا ايها الذين امنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن الا وانتم مسلمون اما بعد فان اصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير هدي محمد صلى الله تعالى عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد. I begin inshallah ta'ala with the greetings of the people of paradise. Assalamualaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Firstly, alhamdulillah, jazakumullahu khairan for the brothers and sisters for your invite today. And I'd also like to apologize for the lateness in my appearance. There was an incident outside of our control. So Allah decreed what He decreed for the rest of His wisdom. And today, inshallah ta'ala, we'll speak about the topic of Quran. And perhaps, wallahu a'lam, we'll speak about the angle of Quran, its relationship with the Muslim, and its relationship with the Muslim in the month of Ramadan, inshallah ta'ala. As we know, the Prophet ﷺ mentions that there are a group of people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves, or He takes with extreme love and affection from the people of this world, more so than others. So the Sahaba asked him, "Man hum ya Rasulullah, who are these people?" And he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ahlul Quran. They are Ahlul Quran, the people of Quran. They are the khasatu, the people that Allah has specifically chosen from the people of this earth, and given them a special rank on earth with regards to Allah's love, His affection, and His mercy. So the question we need to ask ourselves, inshallah ta'ala, is who are Ahlul Quran? And what do I need to do to be able to become from Ahlul Quran? Because Ahlul Quran are a unique group of people. They aren't just people who read the Quran or who memorize the Quran, but there are people that the scholars of Islam, they say, if we look to all of the different aqwal of the statements of the scholars of the past, you often find that Ahlul Quran are people that have 5 key characteristics on earth. 5 different relationships they have with the Quran. If any of these relationships, if any of these forms of dialogue or forms of affection of the Quran are lost, then this means the person loses the rank or the ability to become from Ahlul Quran. But before we speak about Ahlul Quran and their unique characteristics, and what makes a person from Ahlul Quran, it's important to know that as Muslims, we have with us the greatest miracle ever sent to any other prophet or messenger. Allah Jalla wa Ala says, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. He says, subhanahu wa ta'ala, we sent a messenger to every single locality on earth. Every community has been given a messenger or a prophet. And each and every single one of them, أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. They call the people to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they call the people to leave worshipping things besides Allah Jalla wa Ala. Musa alayhi salam was sent to the Pharaoh. And when he was sent to the Pharaoh, sometimes Allah Jalla wa Ala decreed that He sent messengers and prophets with miracles. And the miracles were based upon what the people were using at that particular time, what they saw to be amazing. So Musa alayhi salam was sent to a people that engage in sihr, that engage in magic. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted him a miracle that overcame and overpowered all of the different types of magic that the people of Fir'aun used to do. So his stick, which transformed into a large snake, overcame and overpowered the sticks and the snakes of the magicians. Allah Jalla wa Ala gave him many forms of miracles for his particular time. We look to Isa alayhi salam. Allah Jalla wa Ala sent him at a time when they were advanced in medicine. And they were able to cure great, severe forms of illnesses. So Allah Jalla wa Ala enabled him by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cure the sick, cure sicknesses that were incurable, and to bring the dead back to life again by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As for Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is very unique in the sense that he hasn't just been sent to one locality, nor has he been sent to one nation or one group of people. Rather, he's been sent to all nations, to all different types of people, until the end of time. So the scholars of Islam, they say there must be something extremely unique about the miracle of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Because not only are we living at a time, or was he sent at a time, where miracles or where trials or where luxuries were found, these luxuries changed, the people's desires, they changed into other things. Medicine advanced, technology advanced. What is the miracle of the Prophet ﷺ that could cater for every single time and every single nation and every single people? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He sent Al-Quran to Muhammad ﷺ, the Quraysh, the disbelievers, they responded. And they said to Muhammad ﷺ, وَقَالُوا لَوْلَا أُنزِلَ عَلَيْهِ آيَاتٌ مِّن رَبِّهِ. If only you ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to send to us a miracle, like those miracles of the people of the past. Where is your miracle? They asked him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So Allah Jalla wa Ala says to him, to tell them, قُلْ إِنَّمَا الْآيَاتُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. Indeed, the miracles, they are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِنَّمَا أَنَا نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. Rather, I am only a person that's come to you to warn you. But then he says, Jalla wa Ala, speaking about a miracle that was sent to this ummah, the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He says, أَوَلَمْ يَكْفِهِمْ أَنَّا أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابِ يُتْلَى عَلَيْهِمْ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ رَحْمَةً وَذِكْرَى لِقَوْمٍ يُؤْمِنُونَ. So are you not going to tell them, is it not sufficient for you to all to know that the miracle that you have been sent is the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It is a dhikra, a rahmah لِقَوْمٍ يُؤْمِنُونَ. It is a form of remembrance and a mercy for every single person that believes. Just ponder about this notion here, this point here. The prophets before, the messengers before, were given miracles for a specific time and a specific land or a specific group of people. But the miracle that Allah gave to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was a miracle that had to last every single nation, every single time, every single people, until the end of time. So it must cater for all of these advancements in technology, in medicine, in psychology, in biology, in every single sphere of life. The miracle of Allah must overpower everything. It must be greater than absolutely everything and every matter. So the scholars of Islam, they say, what is it that's so special about the book of Allah? If the miracle of this ummah is the book of Allah, yes, the Prophet ﷺ, like the messengers that came before, he was able to cure the sick by the permission of Allah and bring the hearts back to life again. Yes, the Prophet of Allah ﷺ has been given the permission to control the jinn, but he rested and he left this miracle of Allah to Sulaiman alayhi salam. Yes, the Prophet ﷺ was more beautiful than Yusuf alayhi salam. So he had been given different miracles that all of the prophets and messengers had. But he had something else that was special. And that was the book of Allah. What makes this book so special? What is the miracle of this kitab? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when addressing mankind. Because if you look to the addressing, we look to the way Allah addresses people in the Quran. Sometimes He addresses the mu'minun. Sometimes He addresses the believers, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Oh, you who believe. And sometimes He addresses mankind as a whole. He says to mankind as a whole, not just the believers. He says, Ya ayyuhan nas, قَدْ جَاءَتْكُمْ مَوْعِظَةٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَشِفَاءٌ لِمَا فِي الصُّدُورِ وَهُدًى وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. He says, subhanahu wa ta'ala, O mankind as a whole, O Christians, O Jews, O polytheists, O Muslims, قَدْ جَاءَتْكُمْ مَوْعِظَةٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ. A maw'idah, a mighty warning has come from your Lord Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَشِفَاءٌ لِمَا فِي الصُّدُورِ. And a cure for what's inside your chests. وَهُدًى. And a guidance. And a rahmah. and a mercy for every person that believes. He says subhanahu wa ta'ala, قُلْ بِفَضْلِ اللَّهِ وَبِرَحْمَتِهِ فَبِذَلِكَ فَلْيَفْرَحُوا. Say by the mercy and the noble blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for this, he says, فَلِذَلِكَ, for this, فَلْيَفْرَحُوا. Then show happiness, and show pleasure, and show enjoyment. هُوَ خَيْرٌ مِمَّا يَجْمَعُونَ. This is the best thing that you've been given, that any person can be given. Is the best of the thing that could be given. Is the best of the thing that could be united and presented. فَبِذَلِكَ فَلْيَفْرَحُوا. For this, the Quran, show honor, show gratitude, show izzah, show a permissible level of pride, as in the pride of Islam, being proud that you're a Muslim. Show this level of gratitude to Allah Jalla wa Ala. فَبِذَلِكَ فَلْيَفْرَحُوا. The miracle of Islam, the miracle of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As he says himself, in a hadith reported in Al-Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he says sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, every prophet before me had been given miracles. And he mentioned Musa, and he mentioned Isa, and he mentioned himself sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he said, as for my miracle, it is the book of Allah Jalla wa Ala, and it will last till the last day. So I hope, he says, my followers are greater in number than any other follower or any other prophet. The great miracle of this ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the Quran, the Quran, the Quran. It is the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. It was a book that was revealed in the month of Ramadan. In fact, in the month of Ramadan, on Laylatul Qadr, the entire Quran was revealed from Lawh al-Mahfuz to Bayt al-Izzah. And then Allah began revelation once more on the 27th or 25th or 23rd or 21st, on the odd nights of the last 10 days of the month of Ramadan. Beginning the Quran with Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, sent to Jibreel, who revealed it to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allah chose the Quran at a special time to a special ummah. And so the scholars of Islam say the greatest miracle was sent to the greatest prophet at the greatest time to the greatest people. And who are the greatest people? The greatest people are the Sahaba and Ahl al-Quran. Are the Sahaba and those that become from Ahl al-Quran. Because if only we appreciated what the Quran was, what the Quran is, then we can become from the people of Ahl al-Quran. Allah speaks about this in the Quran. And he tells us about the mountains. And he says, because he says, and he says in other places of the Quran, سَبَّحَ لِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. That everything in the heavens and everything on the earth, they glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they acknowledge and they appreciate the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says regarding mountains, لَوْ أَنزَلْنَا هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ عَلَى جَبَلٍ لَرَأَيْتَهُ خَاشِعًا مُتَصَدِّعًا مِنْ خَشْيَةِ اللَّهِ. If you were to reveal the Quran on a mountain, and the mountain acknowledges and appreciates the greatness of Allah, the mountain would crumble out of the fear of Allah. Will crumble about understanding and acknowledging how great this miracle of Allah is. How great the miracle of the Quran it is. Hence the Prophet ﷺ says, Inna hadha al-Quran sababun. So indeed this Quran is the reason. He calls it the reason. The reason for what? Is ضَرَفُهُ بِيَدِ اللَّهِ. It came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَضَرَفُهُ بِأَيْدِيكُمْ. And now you have it in your hands. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, فَتَمَسَّكُوا بِهِ. Then hold on to it tightly. فَإِنَّكُمْ لَن تَضِلُّوا وَلَن تَهْلِكُوا بَعْدَهُ أَبَدًا. If you hold on to it tightly, you will never become misguided, nor will you ever perish, ever until the end of time. If you hold on to the Quran tightly, you will never become misguided, nor will you ever perish until the end of time. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, تَرَكْتُ فِيكُمْ أَمْرَيْنِ لَن تَضِلُّوا مَا تَمَسَّكْتُمْ بِهِمَا. I've left for you two things. You will never ever become misguided so long as though you hold on to them. What are these two things? Kitabullah wa sunnat Nabi. The sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and before that, the kitab of Allah Jalla wa Ala. How many times did he begin his khutbah by saying, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ الْحَدِيثِ. And indeed, the greatest of speech is the kitab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what is it that makes Ahlul Quran? What is it that makes Ahlul Quran? Anyone know? What are the characteristics? I want to tell you that the scholars of Islam, they narrow down the conditions of the characteristics of Ahlul Quran to be of 5 characteristics. What would you think would be? Take a guess. What do you think one of the rights of the Quran has upon us? Anything. What do you do with the Quran?
Read it.
When you show, what are you supposed to do with the Quran?
Read it.
Read it. That's one right. One characteristic of the Quran is reading it. Another characteristic. Another right.
Reciting.
Another condition for Ahlul Quran.
Reciting.
Reciting is reading.
That's true.
Another characteristic. You'll be put on the spot today because there's so many people around. What other thing? What other right thing?
Understanding it.
Understanding, that's never right. Anything else you can think about? But the Quran has a right over you that makes Ahlul Quran, that makes the people special. Reading, you said. What did you say?
Applying it as well.
Applying it, understanding it. These are 3 points. The last 2. You said reciting, perhaps you can add that as a separate condition because one of the conditions is reciting with tajweed. So reading, reciting, understanding, applying, and one more.
Teaching.
Teaching falls under applying it.
Okay.
What was the last point? What do you need to be able to lead Salah? Or to lead Tarawih?
Memorize it.
To memorize it. These are the 5 conditions of Ahlul Quran. The 5 conditions of Ahlul Quran. And these are from the works of Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala. And the scholars that came before him, they all mention different things. Some of the scholars of today, like Sheikh Shu'air, Hafidhahullah ta'ala, one of the scholars in Riyadh, he mentions that if you analyze and you examine the works of the ulama of the past, they list these 5 conditions. If anyone wants to be from Ahlul Quran, these are the 5 conditions. Let's break it down in more detail, inshallah ta'ala. This is number 1. Number 1 was reading the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Reciting the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And reciting the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something that the scholars of Islam stress severely. In fact, Al-Qadi Abu Ya'la rahimahullah ta'ala, he used to say, he said, we say, he said, rahimahullah ta'ala, that that's a sign of hypocrisy. A sign of hypocrisy amongst mankind, amongst the believers, is that they exceed 40 days without completing the book of Allah. SubhanAllah. A sign of hypocrisy in his time, rahimahullah ta'ala, he would say, Qadi Abu Ya'la, a sign of hypocrisy is that we would see Muslims exceeding 40 days, and he didn't say they wouldn't pick up the book of Allah. He said they wouldn't complete the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A sign of hypocrisy amongst the believers in the time of Abu Ya'la rahimahullah ta'ala was not to read the book of Allah, not to complete the book of Allah after 40 days. Yet we need to ask ourselves the question, how many times have we completed the Quran in this last year? Why is it that Ramadan is the only month in which we pick up the Quran and we try our utmost to try to complete the Quran? Why do we not recite the Quran every single day? Why is it not a portion of the Quran that we ponder, we read about every single day? Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, rather Allah Jalla wa Ala says, have you ever heard a hadith where the narrator is Allah Jalla wa Ala? It's rare, no? Normally you find a hadith narrated by the Sahaba. Allah Jalla wa Ala reveals a statement the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in the Quran. And he revealed it to us as Quran. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقَالَ الرَّسُولُ, and the messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, يَا رَبِّ إِنَّ قَوْمِي اتَّخَذُوا هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ مَهْجُورًا. He said, O Prophet of Allah, the Prophet of Allah said, O my Lord, indeed there will come a people that will abandon the Quran. Indeed there will come a people that will abandon the Quran, and people from this ummah will be raised up and they will abandon the Quran. Now, what is abandoning the Quran? Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala explains in this ayah, in this tafsir of this ayah, that abandoning the Quran can take many different meanings. From amongst them is abandoning reciting the Quran. Is abandoning reciting the Quran every single day. There are moments where we are alone, there are moments where we commute to universities or wait in between lessons. These are opportunities for us to read the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first characteristic, the first condition to become from Ahl al-Quran is to recite the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As radiyallahu ta'ala anhu narrates, saying the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, يُقَالُ لِصَاحِبِ الْقُرْآنِ. It will be said to the person who befriended, who became from Ahl al-Quran on Yawm al-Qiyamah, اقرأ وارتقي. Read and recite. وَرَتِّلْ, and recite it beautifully. But the point of the hadith is the next wording. When she says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, كَمَا كُنْتَ تُرَتِّلْ فِي الدُّنْيَا. Recite the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just like how you used to recite it on the days of the dunya. Because the last place in which you finish reciting will be your place in al-akhirah, your place in Jannah. This is why Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha used to say, the levels of Jannah are not 7, the levels of Jannah are not 1,000. The levels of Jannah are the number of ayat in the Quran. And the ones that will reach the highest level of Jannah are those that used to recite the Quran in the dunya. Those who used to recite the Quran in the dunya. They may not memorize it because the ayat, the hadith doesn't speak about memorizing. Iqra wartaqi. Read and recite. So the scholars of Islam, they say from the conditions of Ahlul Quran, from the conditions of those people who get the highest level of paradise, those that Allah shows the greatest levels of love towards, are those that used to recite Quran in the dunya. Are those that used to recite the Quran in the dunya. And He subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about this in the Quran. In the Ladina, يَتْلُونَ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ وَأَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةِ. And He continues subhanahu wa ta'ala until the very end. He says that these are people that have a transaction that can never ever fail. They have guaranteed a profit of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those that recite the book of Allah. وَأَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةِ, and they establish the prayer. وَأَنْفَقُوا مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُم, and they give from the things that Allah has given them. سِرًّا وَعَلَانِيَةً, in quiet and in open. They are people that have promised a transaction that can never fail. They are the people that Allah has taken as His Ahl, as those people that He has befriended and chosen over everyone else. Furthermore, one of the reasons as to why Allah has blessed the people who recite the book of Allah, as Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala anhu raised a hadith reported in Tirmidhi, is that the reward of reciting Quran cannot be compared to anything else. Some of the scholars of Islam, they say if a person were to be given a specific time to live and he's been told he's got a few hours, for example, or a day left to live, what is the act of ibadah that can raise his level of Allah Jalla wa Ala? Whilst they differ and they dispute regarding magnificent acts of worship, they all generally come down to something to do with the Quran. Some of them say standing in prayer, reciting Quran. Some of them say making dua to Allah using the phrases of the Quran in dua. And some of them say don't just pick up the book of Allah and recite the book of Allah. And why is this? Because of the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud, in which he says, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قرأ حرفا من كتاب الله. Whoever reads a harf from the Kitabillah, whoever reads a letter from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَلَهُ بِهِ حَسَنًا, he'll be given a reward for it. وَالْحَسَنَةُ بِعَشْرِ أَمْثَالِهَا, and for every hasana, for every good deed, he'll be given 10 good deeds for every letter. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I do not mean alif, lam, mim as a letter, rather I mean alif as a letter, lam as a letter, and mim as a letter. The minimum reward is 10. And we know from the other hadith regarding good deeds that these rewards are then multiplied by multiplication we cannot understand. And thus the reward of Quran is special. This is why the people who recite the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the dunya, they are from the front runners, the sabiqun, the awwalun, the one who has beaten everyone else in the race, the front runners. Because they have collected mighty rewards in what they're doing. Surpass everybody by implementing an act of worship, which is from the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Qatada rahimahullah ta'ala, he used to say to every person going through affliction or depression or anxiety or finding some type of problem between their loved ones or unable to have children or unable to open a business, he will say to them rahimahullah ta'ala, he will say, renovate, he will say, use that word, renovate or adorn your hearts and adorn your houses with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he says, rahimahullah ta'ala, is for indeed the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows the malaika to descend into your homes. It allows Allah Jalla wa Ala to envelop you in His mercy. It allows you to find a part of Jannah on earth. Because with the speech of Allah, there is shifa'un lima fi sudur. There is a cure for what is inside a person's chest. The second condition for a person to become from Ahl al-Quran is something called al-i'rab. Does anyone study Arabic here? Anyone studied Arabic here? What does i'rab normally mean? I'rab would normally mean the rules of grammatical rulings pertaining to the Arabic language. So for example, i'rab, we discussed mubtada and khabar, we discussed al-fa'il, maf'ul bihi, we discussed the fi'l, we discussed these concepts pertaining to Arabic grammar. But in i'rab, when it comes to i'rab in Quran, whilst it can also refer to that, what the scholars of Islam mean regarding i'rab is, as the brother mentioned, one said reciting and one said reading, and you said reciting, right? Is reciting the book of Allah correctly. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, he stood up on the minbar in Medina and he warned every person in the masjid, the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, by saying, it is obligatory upon you all to read the Quran with i'rab. Read the Quran with the laws of tajweed. So sometimes we often think that the classes of tajweed, they recommend you don't have to attend them, we can recite the book of Allah. But no, the classes of tajweed are compulsory in Islam. Because you're reading the book of Allah correctly. It's why Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, whilst this narration has some weakness to it, whenever someone recites the Quran in front of him without making the correct tajweed, the rulings of the hudud, etc., he would whip them or he would hit them and tell them to recite the book of Allah just like I was revealed. Ibn Umar used to say, radiallahu anhu, I would hit my children, radiallahu anhu, say, I would hit my children for not reading the Quran with tajweed, as opposed to missing the days of memorizing the Quran. Because tajweed for him, he didn't use the word tajweed, he used the word i'rab. To indicate to us once more that a condition, a characteristic of Ahl al-Quran is when they read the book of Allah, they read the book of Allah correctly. They read the book of Allah correctly. And they apply all of the rulings of tajweed in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is when the Shafi'i rahimahullah, they used to say, this is also the view of all of the four madhahib, but the Shafi'i in the books of fiqh, they mention around 24 different rulings in al-Fatiha that makes the Fatiha accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the other madhahib, the Hanabila, they mention that the one who recites or the one who prays behind somebody that makes a mistake in his Fatiha, and he is able to recite Fatiha correctly, he is not permissible for him to pray behind him. They made the mistake in what? The i'rab of recitation, the tajweed of the Quran. So the one who says Alhamdulillah as opposed to Alhamdulillah, the one who says Alameen as opposed to Alameen. These mistakes are mistakes that are commonly found in the Muslim Ummah across the world. Mistakes that could nullify the Fatiha, which could in turn nullify the entire Salah. فَمَنْ لَمْ يَقْرَأ الْفَاتِحَةِ whoever doesn't recite al-Fatiha has no Salah, as the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions. لا صلاة لمن لم يقرأ الفاتحة. The I'rab itself is the second condition, and in tajweed of the Quran is the second condition of Ahlul Quran. The third condition, that was mentioned by some of the brothers, is to memorize the Quran. To memorize the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And memorizing the speech of Allah Jalla wa ala is a virtue, is a characteristic that only Allah, that Allah Jalla wa ala has blessed these people with. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions that Yawm al-Qiyamah, you'll find two great clouds, in another narration, two great birds that will cover the slave of Allah wherever they go on Yawm al-Qiyamah, and cover them from the wrath or the heat of the fire wherever they go on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And what are these two great birds, these two great clouds? Number one, Al-Baqarah and Al-Imran. The one who's memorized Al-Baqarah and the one who's memorized Al-Imran. The one who's memorized Al-Baqarah and the one who's memorized Al-Imran. There are other hadith, some of them have some weakness to it, where the Prophet ﷺ mentions that the one who memorizes Quran will be given a crown, and he will be given beautiful clothes, and he'll be able to intercede for 70 members of his family. And it has some weakness to it. But again, it shows us the station of the one who memorizes the Quran. And on this point of memorizing the Quran, brothers and sisters in Islam, you're spending, mashallah, tabarakallah, your days and your nights studying for the sake of Allah, some of you perhaps. Studying for yourselves, studying to become better people in society, studying so you don't have to rely on others. These are all intentions of ibadah. You're memorizing terms, you're memorizing text. Why don't you share, why don't you have a portion in the day where you memorize at least one verse every single day? So our teachers used to tell us, the person who memorizes one verse every single day will complete the Quran one day. But the one who memorizes nothing, the one who chooses not to memorize any ayah in the day, he will never complete the Quran. Yes, it will take you a very long time, but at least you will get there. As you know the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Your actions are by your intention. So if you intend to one day complete the Quran with this memorization of a one ayah per day, if Allah takes you before you complete the Quran, you'll be raised up as if though you completed the Quran for memorization. Through your intentions. And the hadith of Aisha also mentions, radiallahu ta'ala anha, that people will be raised up upon their intentions. So leave a portion. When I was in university in London, before I went to Medina, there was a brother that's amongst us. He used to commute to university, and it would take him approximately an hour. So in that time, on his return back to his home, he would try to memorize the Quran. In his 3 years in university, he completed the memorization of Quran just through that commute to university and that commute to home. He completed the memorization of the Quran. So it's not impossible. It's not impossible. And whenever you walk towards Allah, brothers or sisters in Islam, Allah will run towards you. It will be initially difficult. But paradise is not easy. And this difficulty, you will find ease in it. And you find contentment and tranquility in it. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places contentment and tranquility in His worship. Save a portion, even if it be 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, just to memorize one word even. Forget an ayah, the ayah is difficult. 1 word, 2 words. And slowly by slowly, these 2 words will become a verse. This verse will become 2 verses, 3 verses, half a page. It will become an entire page. It will become surahs. It will become ajza. It will become juz, parts of the Quran. It will become the entire Quran, inshallah ta'ala. And you will be from the people that Allah speaks about. كِتَابٌ أَنزَلْنَاهُ إِلَيْكَ مُبَارَكٌ لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ وَلِيَتَذَكَّرُوا أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ. You become the people that Allah speaks about, who are blessed in holding the Quran, who are able to ponder over the Quran and recite it wherever you go, because you find the Quran in your heart. Allahu ta'ala. Number 4, from the conditions, inshallah ta'ala, for a person to become from Ahlul Quran is, as what you mentioned, I think you mentioned, brother, to understand the Quran. to ponder and to understand the Quran itself. They say, Wallahu ta'ala a'lam, at-tafaqquh bil-Quran. To understand the ayat, the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In a hadith reported in Bukhari and Muslim from Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he narrates the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, no person ever joins a gathering where they remember Allah or they recite the book of Allah and they speak about its verses, except that the angels surround them. Mercy envelopes them. And Allah Jalla wa Ala mentions them amongst those who are with Him. Allah Jalla wa Ala mentions you in a gathering much better than this, in a gathering of malaika. So He calls the malaika Jalla wa Ala, and He's high above His throne subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He calls Him Jalla wa Ala the manner that befits His majesty. And He tells them, speaking about you, that you are somebody that remembered Allah, you are somebody that sat in a gathering where they pondered about the Quran, where they discussed the Quran, where they learned the Quran. A virtue, a blessing, specifically for those who understood the Quran. Abdul Rahman al-Sulami, rahimahullah ta'ala, he was from the children of the Sahaba. His mother and his father were the Sahaba. So he used to say, rahimahullah ta'ala, he used to say, the Sahaba used to say, the Sahaba taught us, saying they would never memorize 10 verses except that they learned everything about those verses. They understood where it was revealed, why it was revealed, the laws of ahkam, the laws and the rulings of the sharia that can be extracted from these ayat, how to apply them, when to implement them, why these stories were revealed, what was the purpose behind these stories, how do we connect to these stories, etc., etc. They learned their meaning. They understood the reasons of these verses. Now I want to ask you now is a question pertaining to your understanding of the Quran. If someone to ask you to give a summary of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I've been told this, you'll discover Islamic. If a non-Muslim were to come to ask you and ask you to summarize the Quran or summarize every chapter in the Quran, would you be able to do so? Would you be able to summarize every chapter in the Quran? The sad reality is that the vast majority of Muslims today are unable to do so. We are the first to read about different types of news in the world, to read the gossip columns about celebrities and football players. We can articulately explain the details of sport teams, how what they've done this year and the years that came before. But when it comes to the speech of Allah, how many of us can do the same? When the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the means for us to enter paradise. Have we not ever pondered and contemplated? I wonder what Allah Jalla wa Ala had to say to me. I wonder what is Allah Jalla wa Ala's story. What is His speech? Was the Quran not revealed to Jibreel, to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as the speech of Allah? وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. He spoke to Musa alayhi salam a speech. He spoke to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam this same speech. Have you ever not pondered or contemplated? I wonder what Allah Jalla wa Ala had to say to me. How much understanding do we have of the Quran? And does this not bring us back to the statement that Allah revealed in the Quran about Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that the ummah are going to neglect and boycott the Quran? And is this boycotting not true by our own very selves? Are we going to witness for this statement? Oh, brothers and sisters in Islam, there's an ayah in the Quran, there are ayat in the Quran that sometimes shook nations and shook people. There's a great tabi', actually the person came after the tabi'in, Fudail ibn Riyad rahimahullah ta'ala, died in the 4th century of Hijrah. And he was from the companions of Sufyan al-Thawri rahimahullah ta'ala. Does anyone know who Fudail ibn Riyad was? Have you heard this name before? Fudail ibn Riyad rahimahullah ta'ala was one of the greatest highway robbers of all time. one of the greatest highway robbers of all time. It was said he would stand on the streets and he would strip a person from head to toe, taking everything they possessed. He had no mercy for anyone, nor the elderly or the young, nor the ones making hajj, nor the ones who were just passing by. He would literally be savage in the way he would steal and rob people, taking their possessions from head to toe. One day it's narrated that he stole the belongings of an old man and he gave him back 1 dirham. So the man said to him, I know Fudail ibn Iyad to be somebody that takes, not somebody that gives. Why are you giving me back this 1 dirham? To which he responded and he said, I'm not giving you back this 1 dirham as a sign of mercy, but I'm giving you back this 1 dirham so you can restart your life, so I can come and take everything back off you again. This was Fudail ibn Iyad. Fudail ibn Iyad, rahimahullah. Maybe I'm wondering, why am I saying rahimahullah? Fudail ibn Iyad, rahimahullah, one day saw a woman and he had in his heart the desire to rape her. So he followed her to her home. As she went into her home, he climbed over her wall, about to jump into her garden to fulfill his animalistic desires. But he heard her recite Quran. And she came across the verse, أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. When will the time come for the hearts to remember Allah, to be afflicted, to be affected with Allah's reminder? When will that time come? So Fudail ibn Iyad began shaking. And he fell on the floor. And he said, Ya Rabbi, the time has come now. And then he, rahimahullah ta'ala, he went to look for these circles of ilm, the circles of knowledge. And he saw Sufyan ibn Thawri, rahimahullah ta'ala, sitting down. So Sufyan al-Thawri said to him, Oh Fudail, after seeing Fudail, Oh Fudail, stay away from us. Fear Allah, when are you going to change? He said, I've already said the time has come now. I've not come to steal from you. I've come to take your knowledge from you. And then he learned from them, rahimahullah, to the extent that he looked at the books of Aqidah and he looked at the books of Sirah, Tariq. You'd find the verdicts, the views of Fudail ibn Iyad. Or brothers and sisters in Islam, these 4 conditions that we're talking about thus far. أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. How many times have we heard it before? But when will the time come for our hearts to change? We are, some of you are, representatives of Islam, representatives of the Islamic society, representatives of da'wah in this university. We are meant to be the best of the best. But if the best of the best have abandoned the Quran, then what hope do we have for anybody else? And this leads me to the 5th point. And the 5th point, as our brother here also mentioned, mashallah, is acting by Al-Quran. Is acting by Al-Quran. The great Fudail ibn Iyad that I spoke about, he said, rahimahullah ta'ala, حامل القرآن حامل راية الإسلام. The one who is holding the Quran, the one who now recites, who reads, who memorizes, who tries to understand, he is the flag bearer of Islam. All of you here, some of you here who are part of the Islamic society, who form its shura, who are representatives of this great work that you're doing, mashallah, you are representatives of Islam. In fact, even if you may not be part of the Islamic society, you're still representing Islam in your classes. The way you look, the way you dress perhaps, the way you speak, the way you conduct yourself, you are representatives of Islam. You are messengers of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So he said, rahimahullah ta'ala, حامل القرآن حامل راية الإسلام. The ones who hold the Quran, who carry the Quran, they are the bearers of Islam. He said, لا ينبغي له. It's not befitting for him at all to speak the speech of the evildoers, to backbite when the people backbite, to slander when the people slander, to gossip when the people gossip, to lie when the people lie. He says, لا ينبغي. It's not befitting for the person who's holding the Quran, who wants to become from Ahl al-Quran, to do as the people do in their sin. Rather, he needs to make himself unique in every possible way, different in the way he worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what Abdullah ibn Mas'ud used to say, Ahl al-Quran, the people of Quran, are those that stay awake reciting when the people sleep. They recite in the days when the people talk. And they stay silent when the people speak evil matters. Aisha radiallahu anha was asked, how was the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's akhlaq? How was his characteristics? How was his etiquettes and mannerisms? And she asked, in a shocked manner, have you read the Quran? He said, yes, he was the Quran. He was the walking Quran. So acting upon the Quran means, when we hear Allah tell us, السارق والسارقة فاقطعوا أيديهما, that the thief, the male thief and the female thief, cut their hands. The Muslim stays away from stealing. وَالزَّانِيَةُ وَالزَّانِي, and the female adulteress and the male adulterer, the ones who commit zina. فَاجْلِدُوا, then flog them both. We stay away from zina. وَقُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and tell the believers to lower their gazes. We lower our gazes. Not to backbite, we don't backbite. Not to slander, we don't slander. لا تقربوا الزنا, don't even come close to zina. We stay with every single thing that could lead to a zina. أقيموا الصلاة, we establish the prayer. Give zakah, we give the zakat. Ahl al-Quran are those who read, they understand, and they implement. Until they become beacons of light wherever they go. They become beacons of light wherever they go. For how can a person not become a beacon of light? An example for every single person when he is implementing what? He's implementing the speech of Allah. He's not implementing the speech of the created, or he's implementing the speech of a philosopher, or he's implementing the speech of somebody else who studied some type of degree in this world. He's implementing the speech of the creator of the heavens and the earth. How can he not become a beacon of life? A beacon of light. A beacon of greatness. Some of the ulama used to say, we don't need to give da'wah, because our characteristics are da'wah. Our ethics are da'wah, because the ethics were the Quran. They dealt with people exactly like how Allah commanded in the Quran. فالشارع, the commander, the lawmaker, Allah لا يأمر إلا بمصلحة خالصة أو راجعة. He never commands us to do anything except whatever he commands is completely beneficial or predominantly beneficial. And he never prohibits anything except what he prohibits is completely harmful or predominantly harmful. The Quran is what we need to read, what we need to recite, what we need to begin to memorize, what we need to understand, and what we need to implement. And when we do these 5 things, we implement these 5 conditions to the best of our ability, inshallah ta'ala, that is when we become from Ahl al-Quran. That is when we become from Ahl al-Quran. And a bounty, a virtue of Ahl al-Quran, or brothers or sisters in Islam, is that the person who becomes from Ahl al-Quran, not only will he be given a special place by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this dunya or in the akhirah, but he will be saved from any questioning and any reckoning on the day. Have you not heard the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that the Siyam and the Quran will come on Yawm al-Qiyamah as intercessors? And the Quran will say, Ya Rabbi, oh Allah, oh my Lord, I kept him up at night when the people were sleeping. He used to recite me as in standing up at night and reciting the Quran. Allow me to intercede for him. And Allah will grant this intercession. So the Ahl al-Quran, the people of Quran, will be saved from the horrors of Yawm al-Qiyamah. They will be saved from wondering whether or not their good deeds will outweigh their bad deeds, or will their bad deeds outweigh the good deeds. They'll be saved from every trial on Yawm al-Qiyamah. They will not need to worry about falling into the fire. They will not need to be worried about whether they're going to drink from the hawd or not. They don't need to worry about whether they're going to catch their scrolls in their right hand or the left hands. They will skip every test, every reckoning, every questioning, and they will wait at the gates of the Jannah. with the one to whom the Quran was revealed to, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from Ahl al-Quran. We ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us sincere for His sake, to make us people who establish these 5 points and become people that find the Quran a source of comfort, peace, and tranquility for ourselves in this dunya and in the akhirah. Barakallah feekum. جزاكم الله خيرا وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه اجمعين. Is there any questions inshallah? You're more than welcome to ask.